All right, guys, welcome back to the Strike Twice Running podcast. We're live in North Dakota, Montana, and Colorado. I think all of us finally got a little bit of snow, so it's acting like February around here. It's February 8th. This is our eighth episode. We are cruising now. We were just saying last week how number seven seemed like a lot, and we're already into eight a couple days later. So happy Thursday, Trey, Ray. How you guys doing this evening?
Doing well.
Can't complain. It was about 50 degrees and sunny today, so it's melting off all that snow you were just talking about. So can't complain. And we were just talking about it before we started recording, but just finished up a job interview today, so picked up a gig down here for a little bit to hold me over and see where things go down here in Colorado. But I'm not super upset about these 50-degree days in February. So I still no complaints in my department for that. So
Yeah, I can't say that here. It snowed like 5 inches yesterday, and it melted maybe like a little bit, but it's pure ice right now everywhere. Like just like when it warms up enough, and then ice everywhere. And now it's supposed to snow another like 3 to 5 inches tomorrow.
Yeah, that's same thing here, about 5 inches, and just it was warm all day, and then the sun went down, and it's just turned into ice fast. So it's
Yeah.
gonna be a fun ride to Jamestown tonight on the bus.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
Exactly.
it seems like it takes 5 hours during the day of the direct sunlight for it to melt like a fraction of a centimeter, but the sun goes down and it is frozen over immediately. So you don't really catch the good side of either of it up there, man. The wind comes through and just screws the whole thing up, I feel like. But
Yeah, and the power was out in half a town. A bunch of power lines were down. I went to go to the rec center to run because it was so icy out, and the lights went out there, and they're like, "Well, you got to go home. We can't even sign people in." So
oh,
I got power here, so that's all I care about. But yeah, it's gonna be a good episode. Got a lot to talk about. First, the main thing of our episode is we're gonna be talking about our running essentials. We all brought some stuff that is essential to our training, recovery, whatever our favorite items are associated with running. And then we're naming our beginning segment. We're gonna call that the warm up lap, where we talk about news stories, what's going on in the world. So for our warm up lap, we got a scandal that's rocking the running world, as well as first and foremost, it's Super Bowl week. I think the Broncos are going to win the whole thing with John Elway at quarterback. Um, so we got the Niners and the Chiefs. Who do you guys think is going to win it all this year?
ooh, you
I don't care who. I think the Chiefs will win. I'm gonna say that. I don't want them to win though, but
well,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, for those of you listening that are they can only you can only hear us and you can't see us. Uh, that really tense, awkward silence after that question was us all just laughing or smiling, trying to just say something halfway decent. Because we just ranted about how this is, I don't think anyone is super excited about this Super Bowl. Like, I think a Ravens Lions would have people would have been at least excited to watch that. But, it's going to be the Super Bowl. I'll take as much football as I can get. I can't complain too much. Um, I guess at this point for the offseason, I just got to hope the Vikings pick up Ryan Leaf. We need a quarterback. So we can hope for Ryan Leaf to get some Montana boy out there and, bring up old Brocky Osweiler in the backup spot or something. So
Hey, if you need a Brock Osweiler jersey, I got one in orange.
I think I'll hold off until that's in writing, but I'm gonna go for San Francisco this weekend. I think Christian McCaffrey is just gonna run downhill. We'll see what happens. So
Yeah, I would have to agree. Being an AFC guy and an AFC West guy, I just can't root for the Chiefs. It's just against everything that I believe. And then you look at the Niners. I mean, with Brock Purdy, he's playing well enough, right? I don't think he's a superstar yet. He's young. He's figuring it out, doing enough to get the job done. but he's got so many weapons. You look at Christian McCaffrey and all his receivers, and you have George Kittle. Then on the defensive end, you have Nick Bosa and you have Fred Warner. Like they have so many weapons on both sides that I just think they're going to be able to put together a more complete game. And I can't root for Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs, so I'm also going Niners. So we'll see what
All
happens. Ray's in it for the commercials, he said earlier. So
Yeah,
right.
that and the food.
I'm gonna say I think this is gonna be one of the highest years of people just in it for the commercials. I think that's gonna be it's gonna
Yeah,
be a lot of people on that page, so you're not alone there.
gonna be people playing Madden during the actual game and then flipping back for the commercial.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But okay, so the next thing, big news from the music world. We lost a legend this week. We lost Toby Keith, one of the most American, most patriotic beer drinking men of all time. So rest in peace, Toby Keith. We've listened to a lot of Toby Keith this year. Trey, you have a Toby Keith story from when we were in Minnesota together. You want to tell us a little bit about that story?
Oh yeah, we always would sing. Well, most of the guys on the team, we were there for a cross country meet, and that was kind of the big meet of the year. It was our first like travel meet. We would drive the 8.5 hours to Minneapolis, and most of the kids on the bus had never been to a city. Most of us came from small towns or just didn't spend much time. So the opportunity to run at a meet like that, it's the Roy Griak Invitational. It's the largest college meet that's going on that weekend. It's massive. It starts. It's an all day thing. They run middle school races all the way up through Division One, and so it's just an all day grind. And usually by the time we hit the course, that thing is good and torn up. But it's a great trip, and so we're on this trip, and all the guys we would just we did all sorts of stuff to get ourselves pumped up for pre-race stuff. We ran with some great friends of ours from Jamaica. We did the old cool runnings. We ran that one out quite a bit, and we got into a good click where we would sing the courtesy of the red, white, and blue by Toby Keith. And so we packed the entire men's team into the elevator, and we just checked into this hotel. It's the middle of the day, sun shining, and we all got our duffel bags, and we're all just a bunch of degenerates. And we start singing it. Somebody started it in the lobby when we were walking into the elevator, and it just got louder and louder as the elevator's going up. And pretty soon you get to the line where he said, we'll put a boot in your ass, and the doors are opening as we're doing that. So there's like 11 guys with duffel bags just crammed into this probably 6-person elevator, screaming that lyric. And we look out, and there's just this old couple standing there, like looking on the other side of the elevator. We just woke up the whole hotel that was taking a midday nap. So yeah, that one hit home. I know the cross country group chat, all the boys texted quite a bit on Tuesday, and I think we all cracked one open for Toby that night. So that was tough. That was a bummer, but we got some good memories for sure. So
Yeah, I was talking to my mom about it the other day, and she was saying, because I texted my dad immediately, right? I texted you guys, I texted my dad and told him that Toby Keith passed away. And my dad did not sob when his mom passed away, but he cried like a baby when he heard that Toby
Mm.
Keith died. And it's just like, he has just been one of those people for so many of us that just songs were, you didn't have to think about them, right? They were about America, they were about drinking beer, and that's about it. So, I mean, we, we appreciate you, Toby Keith, and we'll dedicate episode number 8 to Toby Keith, I'd say.
I'd say so. I'd say that's fitting.
Yep.
So, okay, so back to our scandal here. So, we travel overseas to London. There's the Kate Carter, who's the commissioning editor at Runner's World UK. So, very high up in the Runner's World UK world. Um, she ran the London Half Marathon. No big deal, right? Everything seemed normal, except for the fact that she cheated. And the way that this was discovered is crazy. Apparently, there's this whole website called marathoninvestigation.com, And what this guy does, it's like one guy, he purchases race photos and figures out if you're cheating or not. So I'm going to share my screen because this is very interesting. So she claimed that her watch died, and this is her at the finish line, and her watch is lit up. So the Garmin data was all manipulated, and she said on her post that her watch had died, but clearly at the end of the race it's lit up. Okay, that's red flag number one. Number two, there was a missing split. There was a 5K split at like the 15K mark that was not recorded, so she didn't cross the mat. And then her next mark at the 20K was her fastest of the race, like by far, by like almost PR level. Then at the very end, she folded her bib in half before she crossed the finish line so the cameras wouldn't catch her bib right. So the chip time wouldn't be the same as the gun time and all of that. And the map that she created with Strava, she actually manually created it before the race, and that's what she posted as a run, but it didn't match the actual course for the race. So this guy, Derek Murphy, and this website figured out that this lady cheated, and she is like the spokesperson for Runner's World. And so she's like under huge scrutiny for cheating. And it's like, are you serious? Like, what kind of message does it send to everybody in the running world that, she can't even have integrity to run a half marathon? So blew my mind, for one, that she did that, and two, that there's a website that is dedicated to figuring out that people are cheating in races, and apparently it's a common thing.
Yeah, I hear about people cheating, which I've never understood like why. But I two things from that. I didn't know you could manually like set your path on Strava. I never knew that was a thing. But and then what like you this website of this guy, I think that's very comical that that's what he does. I mean, good on him in a way, because it's pretty annoying when people do that, to be honest.
I did not think it was that big of a problem.
Yeah.
Well, and like definitely a strain, like what a weird time for her to be like, yeah, it's a good idea. Like I have as much publicity as like a a running figure could have in terms of like I'm sure like over in the UK, like anything that's held that's a large event with with running is probably got some input from them. So it's kind of a strange thing there. But I am happy to see that they're catching people early on. Like we were just talking about how like it feels like running is exploding to the point where every year you have the greats and the people that really have solidified their spot, but every year there's just a whole new group of people, young guys and girls that are just starting to tear it up, and they're 99.9% of the running world is probably some of the most dedicated and typically like honest folks you're going to be around. But everything has its everything has a an exception, and so it's good to see him catching it early on. So that kind of maybe set the precedent that it's like, yeah, we're not gonna, this stuff is a little bit easier to track than people are thinking. And also just crazy, like what did she just like step off the course and get into a car? Like I feel like in the world we live in right now, with every single person has a damn camera on their phone. How do
Yeah.
you, how do you think you're gonna get away with something like that? It's just crazy to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Crazy, crazy, but
Yeah,
I'm
Hmm.
interested to see what comes of that.
maybe she cut a corner somewhere because the course kind of interloops itself a little bit. So maybe she cut somewhere, or
Hmm.
don't know. And she wasn't really denying it that much is kind of from what I'm getting. So it sounds like, I mean,
Mhm.
Hmm.
you can obviously look at her Strava data and see, or her Garmin data that she posted and see that it's not right. So yeah, like, and you go to that website, that marathoninvestigation.com, there is so many, like every big race, there's people that are just photocopying bibs and like printing off their own bibs just as on pieces of paper so they can get in like to sold out races and things like that. And it's like, that is so easy to figure out because every bib that's legit has a tracking chip in it. And
Yeah.
so I did not realize that people were trying to cheat in these races. And I mean, what's the benefit unless you're gonna win the Boston? But if you have a PR of 3 hours and 30 minutes in the marathon and then you run a 2:09, that's gonna raise some red flags. So like I don't even know like, and when she did it, she didn't even she I think she ran a 1:32 half, which is, it's like a middle of the road time. Like if you're gonna cheat for one, you might as well send it. Don't just cheat a little bit because then you look even dumber.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm more so curious for, when they get a full statement. I want to hear her side and her mindset and what actually, like, when they get all the facts of the situation. I'm really interested to see what all comes of it. Because yeah, that's not a time that would normally raise suspicion of cheating, and obviously someone in her position you'd never suspect of cheating. So it is, you know, it's strange with all that information and all that data for sure. But I am excited to hear the other side of it too, because you know how the news frenzy just goes. When there's definitely anything worth clicking on, that there will be 30 headlines before one of them gets it right. So I'm excited
Right.
to see what it all entails, but there's a lot of weird inconsistencies in that story for sure. So from her end, but yeah, man, there's no, like, your comment about like winning Boston, like there's no amount of cheating that you can do to win real money in running, like, to that wouldn't bring about insane suspicion. Like, if you're capable enough and talented enough to win races like that where you're going to take home some serious money, everybody knows who you are already. Like,
Hmm.
the race officials are pretty dang sure who's going to be in that top 10, like, in varying order. But I mean, running is just like any other sport where, like, yeah, upsets happen, but like 99% of the time at that level, in the top 0.001% of athletes, like, everybody knows who you are and they know, generally what you've been capable of in the past. So yeah, you go out and, yeah, I ran 3 hours and 40 minutes to qualify for Boston or whatever it is now, and then, yeah, then I went and I dropped a 159. I
Yeah.
yeah, I broke two. It was me and Kipchoge running side by side all the way, and like,
You couldn't see it on the cameras though. They did they I was too fast. Yeah, you couldn't see me on the cameras.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
Yeah,
it's just weird. It's weird with her position. Like I know it's kind of already been said, but like I think of it, just even on any type of scale, like like the big run-in store in Montana. This is used for example. Like if they cheated in their own like the Missoula Marathon or something, like that would be so bizarre because most of that community knows this person. You know, it's it would just be it's I don't get the end goal like at all. That makes zero sense.
that just put the funniest, like, picture in my head of, like, where, like, all of your running friends are like, you come back from the race and you're like, guess what I ran, and then you show them the race time and they're like, really, like, like, dude, we run together like 5 times a week, and like, like, you are not that fast, like,
Yeah.
I just, like, it just put the way you said that just put the funniest picture in my head of like your hometown just totally dogging on you and be like, "You're not doing it, dude.
Yeah,
Like, get the hell out of here."
yeah,
It cracks me up. Oh yeah, cheat far from home and do it better than that. So I
yeah.
don't know.
No, no kidding.
Or if you're the chief editor of Runner's World, go cheat in tennis or something. Like,
Yeah,
don't cheat in the sport that you represent the integrity of. Like, that was a bad move. Like, it's not something that you would get fired for. It's not like but she's gonna lose her credibility, and nobody's gonna have respect for her in that community. And like, I don't. Things are not gonna be good for her. That's my guess, anyways.
yeah,
It's gonna be interesting. Like I said, I think a lot more is gonna come out about it before it's over. I'll say that. But um, yeah, wow. All right, that was a good warm up lap. Way to start that one off. You really teed one up for us there. That whew.
Well, I think I have more questions now than I did when I was researching it. It's just there's so much going through my mind. Like, I mean, there's the saying, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. But somehow she couldn't even get that right. Like I've seen people cut courses on cross country meets, and I know somebody that was really good at it, and it was funny. Like, but don't do it in front of the cameras or when you have a chip time on you that's tracking your location. Like, I don't know how she didn't think that through. So I don't know. My head's spinning here, but we better get to the meat of the actual episode here, where we're talking about our average runners,
Don't cheat, kids. Don't cheat.
but we're going to talk about what makes us good runners by not cheating and using legal things to make us healthy. So we're just three average runners. We're going to show you kind of some of the things that we use. I know that me and Trey brought the same model of shoe. Ray has something very different, so I'm excited to learn a little bit more of that. We have two different styles there. So, Ray, why don't you just kick us off with your footwear choice?
yeah. So I run in zeros. I can show you it. It's a very beat up shoe currently because I need a new one. But so it's a minimalist barefoot type shoe. I kind of jumped that train like a decade ago. So I have this is like the only pair of shoe I've ran in now, at least like for a solid. Well, that's not true, but like religiously, this is the one I've done like 4 or 5 years. I've tested other pairs out, but yeah, I don't know. I absolutely love them. I don't know where to begin with. Like, I guess ask questions about the whole barefoot stuff, I suppose, but that's the brand I rock.
Yeah, how did you get into minimalist shoes? Did you just start running barefoot and then like, oh, they make shoes for this? Or talk about your entrance into that.
Yeah. Well, so I actually did I'll show you the other one. I did. It's the zero. They have a running sandal. I transitioned into that first. A few years ago, a buddy of mine that's what he just like walks in. Like he just does like minimalist type shoes. And at that time, I was consistently rolling my ankles just from old basketball injuries and whatnot. And pretty much like any long run I would do, like I would roll my ankle on a pine cone or something, just very minimal, like very tiny little things in the road I'd step on. And they just suggested you should just try out these type of barefoot type stuff. And so yeah, I went to these first just for like a few miles. And then yeah, I would do true just like barefoot, nothing on it, just go on a trail somewhere and then I realized they had like an enclosed shoe. So I also get those ones, and just now I have it down where it just depends on the type of trail that I know where I'm going and what type the terrain is. And I'll either, if it's a really rocky or edgy or whatnot, I will wear the actual shoes. But if I can do the sandals, I'll just wear the sandals.
Is there a learning curve with transitioning into that? Or I mean,
Yeah, I think so. Because it totally changed my form. Like it's really like I had to almost my stride almost had to like shorten in a little way. because it just your muscles will use completely different. Like, I mean, we build up like a just natural like use of our muscles when we're running. Like, we're kind of just used to that. But as soon as you take away like your that platform essentially on your foot, it's 10 times worse. Like it took me a long time to build up like proper just my calves, especially. Like my calves would just burn after like a 4 or 5 mile run. And then as I just kept doing it consistently, it became a bit more stronger and whatnot. And then next thing you know, I'm in the 15 to 20 mile range and just using those. But yeah, you really have to like, if you're really used to just like a regular, typical running shoe, if you're from, this is just my personal experience, is like you genuinely have to start really small, like maybe even like a mile, mile and a half, like barefoot, and then do it maybe once a week, twice a week, and then just build up if you're going that route.
You have had enough experience now. You were talking about it a little bit last week. So you you were saying you try to avoid the sandals now if it's like wet or muddy, right? Because they slide
Yeah.
around too much, or how does that compare to the actual shoe itself?
Yeah. So if it is like any type of precipitation the night before or something, that your foot just like slides on this, like it just gets wet, obviously, because nothing there. So like literally your foot, like every time you step, it does that. And it's really aggravating. And it just like I did that run with Trey, I was saying last episode, where I ended up having to take the sandals off for a good mile or two, and I held them out in the air to like dry out as I'm running down, and then I would put them on, and then when I got to like the wet spot, I just took them off again.
I will say it was pretty funny turning around every now and then watching. It would just be just dense green, like beautiful forest, and then rounding the corner would just be Ray with his hands up and sandals out, like just rounding the corner, running barefoot, which was kind of a funny image to see, just
Yeah.
peering out of the trees. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, I still just I don't know that I could do that, but I would maybe try it one day. But I think my feet are too conditioned now for a little bit more cushion. So Trey, do you want to talk about your shoe choice? Because mine is the same as yours.
yeah, yeah. And I'm sure we'll have a lot of similarities and stuff and why we use them. But the Hoka, the Clifton eights, we both rocking the eights. I started with Hokas in college. I have a heel strike like nobody's business. When when I came back to Dickinson and started coaching, and I was going for some shakeout runs with the guys and trying to get myself back in shape a little bit. And uh, about halfway through the run, Hunter just goes, "God, I missed that." And I was like, "What's that?" And he goes, "Well, when I heard just coming up behind me, I knew exactly who it was because you just hear my heel hit and it would just smack, and then my toes would slap, and then um, he would just would always give me crap about it, about how like my freaking my heel strike is just god awful. So I ran into some pretty bad IT band issues and just a lot of general, I mean, lower body tightness. I am just ungodly unflexible, just terribly unflexible. So um, I had was starting to run into a lot more issues later in my career where my body was just tired of compensating for my bad form, and so I was I was struggling pretty bad there. So I got really into high cushion shoes and some other just kind of training products that I guess we'll go over here in a little bit. But that's how I landed on the Hokas, and I was in the Clifton Five to start in the original kind of grandpa looking ones, the black and white that just looked like I was on my way to play bocce ball or something, which I loved. They were like my favorite. And the fives, I ran in the fives for a lot of years, and then bit the bullet and jumped to the eights. And now, yeah, I love these. I run with them all over the place. I definitely have started looking into some of the Hoka trail stuff to maybe look at some of the trail options that they have. Like the Speed Goat is pretty sweet. Um, but yeah, so that's kind of my next. I think the next pair of shoes, I'm going to get something a little more specific to the trail side of things. But that's why I got into them, and still love them all the time, wear them all the time. How about you?
Yeah, same with the Clifton Eights. I believe that I got into Hokas because you got into Hokas. I think you were kind of the first one out of our group to start wearing Hokas, and I remember all of us being pretty skeptical of that, and then slowly we finally got everybody on the Hoka train. And I think the first pair I ran in were Irahis, maybe,
Mm.
um, and pretty similar, a little bit bulkier compared to the Cliftons. But this is the second pair of Clifton Eights that I've worn, and I've done all sorts of training in them. They're not trail shoes, but I've done trail runs in them. I've done a lot of road stuff in them too. So a lot of different good miles. I'd say it's kind of more of an entry level Hoka, whereas you were talking the Challenger and the Speed Goats are more specific to different things. But it's a pretty good, well-rounded shoe. And we were talking before we started recording is a lot of the newer Hokas have the dovetail, which has its
Mhm.
pros and cons. I like it because it just kind of goes around your heel, fits nice, allows your foot to slip in nice. Some people have problems with it gripping um, in your heel and your foot coming out, but I've never had those problems. And if you just do the heel lock with your laces or whatever, I've never had a problem with it. The only complaint that I've ever heard about the dovetail is like more on the trail side where it's kind of a funnel for rocks and dirt to enter your shoe. So that's probably the only complaint that I've heard on the trail side. But yeah, I've probably ran in Hokas for 4 or 5 years now and a couple different models. But the Clifton, I went with the eights because I think they have the nines out already, um, and the eights were on sale, so that's why I went with the eights. And I'm a guy that if it's working, I'm not going to change it. So I went with the exact same pair of Cliftons that I was wearing before. So I'm still in the eights, but yeah, that's my first. That's our footwear choices. We got two Hokas and one sandal slash barefoot guy. So uh, Ray, what else do you got for running essentials?
Well, that's like, I mean, so I can show you my running vest I have. I think I have the exact same one as Trey now. I didn't realize, but I have this next to me. But I have a Nathan, that's the brand. But I wear that a lot on, well, not majority of my runs, but most of my runs when I'm out on the trails. That's a pretty essential thing, I would say. I never used to have anything like that. As you heard, my very terrible experience from last week. Yeah, I so maybe you'll catch on to this someday, or maybe you already are. I don't carry like a lot of like stuff. I'm like just when it comes to like maybe life in general, but I'm just like a minimalist. Like I really am. But when it comes to running, yeah. So like I don't really have a whole lot more, to be honest. I got my one pair of shoes and that, and
Oh,
yeah.
I know you got that ankle brace somewhere in there. I
I
know that.
do have I do wear I've been wearing an ankle well it's oh yeah it's actually I can see it right here. I do have ankle braces now because of the one time. So this will actually be fitting for our story. I mean our episode. The one time I tried out a pair of Hokas 2 Octobers ago is when I fractured my ankle. Because a friend of mine was like, "You should just try these. They're on sale." I'm like, "Oh yeah," and they're like, "Nothing great." I'm like, "Yeah, I'll try it. I can give it a go." And that's what happened. But like seriously, that is to be said. If you get really used to doing like barefoot minimalist type stuff, it's really hard to go back to normal shoes because you're like your brain like where you're so used to like basically hitting ground level. But if you have like any cushion underneath it, your like brain gets to a point where like you think you're hidden here, like there's like an inch off the ground essentially, but you think you're on solid earth. So like it's just a really weird like mind trip, but it's so like common for people to roll ankles, unfortunately.
Oh, and
So
like
yeah.
about how it's difficult to not necessarily difficult, but it takes time to transition into minimalist shoes. It takes time to transition into something like a Hoka too. I
Mhm.
remember, I mean, a lot of us ran in Asics or Saucony or Brooks or whatever, and
Yeah.
it takes time to get used to Hokas because they have a pretty big heel drop on them, and they're clunkier looking, but they're typically as lighter than most other shoes. So, but again, that it changes your form, and like you said, it's no matter what you're doing with footwear, there's going to be a transition time, and it's going to take a lot of trial and error to work into a new style of running shoe. So yeah, up or down definitely can be difficult at times.
Well, I felt like the dumbest person on earth though, because I was in like PT, and I remember my physical therapist was like, "So you went from like the low like level of like shoes to basically like at the one I had was like the high end of like this cushion," and she was like actually like genuinely like upset with me. She's like, I can't believe you right now. And then I was telling her more like stories that she's like, I love listening to stories like this. I love you. I'm like, well, I have plenty to share then, I guess. But yeah, you're right though. It's all about transition, but I won't try that again. I'll I'll go barefoot, like true barefoot before I go to a shoe if I have to.
So you're saying, is your pack, is it the 12 liter? Should say right on the back there.
Yeah, I thought it wasn't, but yes, it is because I thought yours was bigger than mine when I saw it that one time. But it is a 12 liter.
Yeah. Okay. Well then, yeah. So Ray and I have the same one. Yeah, the Nathan.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
kind of that like I don't know, olivey green and orange. Super sick. Like color scheme wise and just all that. Like,
Same as this one too. That's the same.
um, no, a little different. I think yours is
I think mine's a little smaller.
it's a little bit smaller and I think a little bit different design.
Oh, okay.
Also, I think Nathan kind of has a really big line of, they have packs for everything, ranging from just the hand ones that are literally just water bottles with little like the zipper pocket. And I know people that use those to like the fanny packs up to, and then I was like, I went to the store and I was like, what is the backpacking version of a running pack? Because I usually like to pack about 8 days worth of food into this bad boy. So, uh, um, yeah, I still got I still got stuff rolling around in here from our last. Ray
Oh,
Ray and I did we did it was kind of a modified triathlon deal, and it was a
oh,
bike, a paddle board, and a run. And it was the George up at Georgetown Lake and well by Georgetown Lake. Um,
E-
and what's that?
Echo.
Yeah. You end up going. You do the paddle boarding on Echo, and we just kind of were like, screw it, let's go. And so um, I did the bike, and that was going really well. I was in the top five until about a half mile left on the bike, and there was one turn that did not get marked very well, and was unfortunate because I thought I read the map correctly, and so I definitely could have done more homework. But all the props in the world to also like the race director and the folks putting it on. I'm good friends with them, and um, right away afterwards they're like, "Hey, like we know it's been buzzing around like she worked super hard to put it on. She was like, that's my bad. I think it probably just didn't get marked as well as it should have, and there ended up being some weather that week as well that I think kind of screwed up a few of the markings too. And so um, it was just one of those things where uh, it you don't know what can go wrong until it does, and that's on a race like on a city street that you can pretty much see the whole thing. This 90% of this course is out in the middle of the woods and it's single track and stuff like that. So, um, it was by all accounts. I mean, it was a success, and every year it grows, and it's a ton of fun. But um, I ended up I threw the pack on there so I could bring some water with me. And I think, yeah, we'll definitely be signing up for that one again next year. It's a good time. But I use this pack for, I generally will use it for any length of run in when we're going on trails as short as like 4 or 5 miles. Not because like not because we really need anything, but I know transitioning into longer and longer and longer runs, you're gonna have to be wearing it at some point. So if you just kind of get your body used to it on the shorter stuff, you can kind of tweak and figure out all the little things. Like I know I adjusted, so it's got kind of a great like cross strap section here where it's like a two strap. You can see the split there into one buckle, and there's two sets of those, and so it's kind of a Y shape or a V shape cross strap there, and there's two sets of those, and they're so sweet, and the material is like perfect, and it just kind of hugs your body, but there's that fine line where you don't want it to feel like because if it's constricting you at all, your brain's going to tell you that it's probably constricting you a lot more than it actually is. So you're gonna, it's all part of that, getting the mentality of it and just getting the feel for it. So um, I know that pack in particular, being 12 liters, like it can hold a lot of stuff. I have had tons of stuff in there, like way too much, and I still had some room to fit a few more odds and ends. Um, and so, yeah, if you're like looking to get you know, into something that's going to take you in the longer, really longer distance running out on the trails where you feel like you need to bring stuff with you, a lot of great space in there. And if you're also just a serial overpacker, like I am, I love that pack. That's why I was so surprised when Ray said he got the same one. I was like, dude, you could probably, tie a string onto a wallet and just drag it behind you if you you could fish out if you need one later because that's usually what you brought with you. But yeah, no, it's great. A lot of super good pockets. The ventilation's solid, and um, I love it. It took me a couple of, I would say probably 2 to 3 10+ mile runs to get the whole feel and fit and cinching things where I wanted them cinched. But anything with running, anything with athletics, I'd say running in particular, it's like a good pair of shoes. It's going to take you just a little bit of time to break them in, but then you get to that sweet spot, and it's like that for a really long time. So, yeah, I know I've had really good luck with it, and I definitely don't see myself getting anything different. But what is yours, Hunter? I don't know if I've actually seen yours in person.
Um, I think so. It's a little bit smaller than yours, but I mean, pretty similar. On the front, where you can put the bottles on the front too, if you want.
Hmm.
Which I think we talked about in the very first episode, where if you have two 16-liter bottles on the front here, it's a lot of weight on the front, and I didn't really like that as much, so I went with more of the Camelback style, like it looks like you use. Um,
Hmm.
but it actually, um, as I've been lifting weights more, it's gotten a little tight. And like you said, if it's a little tight, it's a lot tight. So I'm gonna go up a size and maybe get like a 12 liter. But and pretty much the same thing as you. If I'm on anything that's on the trail, I'm taking it with me. Um, and what I've realized is it's just nice to have a little bit of water with you on any run. I never, we don't use that stuff in college. We didn't train on goos in college, none of that. So you get into the longer stuff, the trail world, you just get to eat and drink all the time, and it is like the best. So most of my runs, I take something with me, and so
Yeah.
I run with this quite often because just throwing a little bit of water in there and a little bit of a couple goos or something is pretty awesome. So I ran the Mattahi Marathon in that. It worked perfect for that. Um, for my 100-mile race, I'm probably going to get, like I said, a 12 liter and kind of upgrade a little bit because I'm going to be carrying more equipment in the poles and stuff. So, but yeah, that's the one thing we can agree upon in the running best world is that Nathan is, I would say, probably the superior brand. Would you guys agree?
I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah, only brand I've ever used, but I will say, as far as like if you're gonna go out and get one, um, I went to Runner's Edge in Missoula. Obviously, always shout out to them. They're a great store, and have, I would say got most of my running stuff in my career from that store. But um, wherever you're at, really, really good like hometown running stores are starting to become, more popular in like the best way. Like just like real running stores of like the people that are there they know what to expect because they also have those same trials and tribulations when they're getting into different types of running and different types of products. So, any running product, shoe, vest, anything like that you're going to do, go to a real store, like go to a real running store. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to let you try it and run with it. Like, I've run in all of my shoes before I ever paid for them. I took a couple of laps. I did like a half a mile with the vest on 2 different sizes because I was kind of right there between those sizes, and there's just one feels a little loose at the tightest point because it's a little big, and the other one feels a little tight at the loosest point. So you kind of have to just really like gauge that stuff and understand that like it's gonna change the more you run. So the more you can get to a real running store that's gonna kind of support you in that way and let you try stuff and get a really really like true feel for it. That's like the best advice I would say. Whatever product fits you and you like it, great. There's no end all be all. But if you go to a place that lets you figure that out before you pay the money, that's usually a little bit better than a little bit better than finding that out when you're 10 miles up the ridge. So that's my 2 cents.
I definitely agree with that. And we went to BP Run Co. when we were in Denver with you, and just a really good community there, and Runner's Edge as well in Missoula. Just it's that mom and pop style running store, super quality guys, super quality equipment too that's been tested by them. They use it. So I definitely agree with that. The last thing that is definitely essential to my running is lubricant. Anti-chafing. I used Body Glide forever. Used that in college, and when I first got into trail running, but recently have discovered Squirrel's Nut Butter. It is like the best. It's all natural. It is made in Arizona, so it's a USA product, and it is the best. It smells pretty good too, but chafing is like the worst for me. I hate it. I got fat thighs, so they chafe all the time. So my essentials have to include something to make me not chafe. So usually I bring that with me in my vest too. Just I put it on before, and then I usually bring it with me just in case because it's that important to me. So that's probably the most important thing that other than shoes, I carry that with me on it some way or another. It's with me every run. So you guys,
Good stuff. I've heard of that. The one you just talked about. I've never used it before, but I've seen other people talk about it. So that's cool that I know someone to because I kind of want to try that one out.
you should. It's very good. It's super smooth. It's probably better than Body Glide because it's a little bit less like a deodorant stick and more like natural oils. So you can feel the difference. So it's kind of
Yeah.
a little bit longer, which is nice too.
Hmm.
I remember when we all all the guys you'd get on the bus, and every guy, every like distance runner, male distance runner, their backpack, we always had one elastic cup holder in the backpack, and there was never a water bottle in it. It was never a water bottle. It was always a stick of deodorant, and everyone was like, "Oh, is that because you smell bad after you run?" It's like, no, that's my thigh deodorant. That's my and so it's just like, because like I mean, we were all just, I mean, like rubbing 2 nickels together. Had nothing like, so you'd buy the dual pack and get one that you'd actually use for for your armpits and one for your thighs, and then afterwards, when we made a couple of bucks and could live on our own and were depending on the school to feed us twice a week, uh, we started getting into Body Glide a little bit more, but um, Yeah. So if you're, I would have to agree with you there as far as like your essentials go. I'm with you. I don't think I'll ever leave Hoka's. That's just where I'm at for my essentials. It's Hoka. Shorts. We didn't really go over shorts because there's such a wide range, and like I wear such a wide range. Like it's really like dependent on the run, like 100%. Like, um, and so it's kind of all over the board, and it's really like whatever you're comfortable with. And so the yeah, my Hokas for sure. Some sort of anti-chafing. Nowadays the pack, my Nathan pack, 12 liter. I use that one for a lot of stuff just because I like getting my body used to it. And like you said, dude, like I just, yeah, can relate to that so much where it's like, it feels so good to hit the top of like a ridge line and be like, oh, I can just stop and like have a snack and just hang out for a minute. So I love having the pack with me with some snacks. Uh, and yeah, when I'm home, foam block, like $2 on Amazon, lay on a foam block all the time for my lower back. I'll lay on it when I'm like watching TV. I'm like, look at me stretching. I'm like just watching TV. Uh, and every now and then, get the roller going. If it was up to coach, we'd probably be on the barbells again, rolling out, which is just torture. But overall, yeah, pretty confidently there. Not a ton of stuff that you really need. I'm not a watch guy. Never been a watch guy. I don't really run with one. Um, but that, and as long as I have a Reese's Fast Break in the truck when I get back, I'm good. That's my essentials. So, Ray, I know your list is really big.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think if there is anything else. No, I mean, one thing I want to just learn maybe a bit more is as I get into more like extremely long distances, I actually wouldn't mind getting like a like those Garmin watches that that have like the built-in like SOS or whatever. There's a name for it. I can't think of it at the moment. Because like I get out by myself more times than not now, and that I because that's like you're probably proud of me. Like anymore now on most of my runs, I actually have like depending where I'm going now, like I've brought like a lighter just in case if like I get like really weird injured where I can like start a fire or something, or I have like some like food on me now and just like even I don't even touch. Like I finish and I have like all this stuff, like this excess stuff. But if I were to like inquire into another running essential, it would be some type of watch like that would provide. But I mean, that's like a different type of running. I feel like, that's truly just for like if I'm out on like hopefully if I get out on something like 50 plus miles or something where I'm really by myself, but
Yeah.
not there at the moment.
But for now, you basically run with nothing. So
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the main reason why I got this one, knowing the size of it, because I bought a drone, it fits my drone fits in it perfectly. So like when I get out on like a ridge and whatnot, it's just like lane. It's not lane, but it's like it's in the very back one, and it just fits perfect. So I mean, at half the time, that's like what like, it looks like. It's so like full in the back. But yeah, it's just good, just a little tiny drone. But
sense. That makes sense.
yeah,
I was so proud for like 30 seconds. I was like, he fills it full of stuff. He's all prepared. I never have to worry about Ray running out there alone again. And then he's like, yeah, I took out all the food to make room for the drone, actually. And
yeah. No, I mean, and again, like that just depends where I'm going. If I'm
yeah,
doing like the goat flat one, it's like, well, now I learned I can't even film out there with I got in trouble. So it's a whole nother story. But
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have a lot more episodes where we're doing gear dumps, and we probably will get into shorts one day. That will probably be its own episode. But yeah, this was just a few of the things that we try to use every day or on the majority of our runs. So that was about it for episode number 8. You guys have anything else quick to wrap it up?
No, I think we all pull the trigger on new watches and do a watch episode one day. And
Yeah, no kidding.
no,
Yes.
oh, I was gonna say I got nothing else. That's pretty expansive list. I don't think you need much more to run.
Yeah, they say running is a cheap sport. All you need is a pair of shoes. That was a lie for many reasons. The more you get into running, the more expensive it gets. We're already thousands of dollars deep into running, I'm sure, at this point in our lives, probably just in shoes alone. So this was a little bit about us as just average runners, what we use every day, and we'll probably do some more gear dumps this summer as we're getting into more racing and stuff. But that was episode number 8. Thanks for tuning in, guys. This was the Strike Twice Running Podcast. See you guys next time.
See ya.